Let's look ahead now to the French coming to Dublin. They were somewhere between second and third gear against Italy. In the end, they got the job done, 29 points to 24. My instinct here with this game, Brian, in Rome, is to almost ignore it as pretty much complete irrelevance with a view to what's to come in Dublin. Rob Kearney in the Virgin Studios wasn't so sure. He said, look, if you're of a certain mindset, you don't go out and perform like that. What's your sense of what we can read into Sunday?
I'm with Rob on that. Again, without getting excessively ahead of ourselves, I think it's to see that performance from France, substandard, sloppy, discipline very poor. I don't think they offered a huge amount. Their kick game was very effective. They'd obviously earmarked, the narrowness that Italian defence, had performed in the autumn, and so they made them pay a couple of times there. But Ireland won't be that naive, so they'll have to go through phases an awful lot more for some of their scores. You have to remember 3 of their scores. 1 came from a block down, and 2 came from cross-field kicks. Like, I don't think they'll get that level of access, with Ireland in any manner or means. So I think I would be a little bit nervous for France on where their progression is, having seen that performance.
Okay.
I think they really missed Jonathan Danty at 12. I think Mofana's nice player without being exceptional. I think Dumoutier on the wing, he got his first touch on 25 minutes in his first cap.
Yeah.
So I was in studio and I was like, God, Jermaine Dumoutier is being very quiet. And one of the tech guys said into my ears, like, it's his first touch, 25 minutes. I was like, that's disgraceful. He's got to go looking for the ball more. And the next thing, as I was saying that, he scored his try. I can't fathom that. Your first cap, get off the scrum half, get a touch within. I'm going looking for the ball within 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Out of position, doesn't matter. Get your hands on the ball. Waiting out on your wing, I think they're starting to get a little bit thin there. Vakatawa is a huge loss to them in the centre, having to retire. I think Fiku now was playing a bit of wing, but now is locked in 13. Very, very nice player, but important combination with Danty. I think Danty's become a huge player for them. Gives them brilliant advantage line. Is a lot more of a baller than maybe I initially gave him credit for. And then, Pinot was like a bit of a mixed bag. I think they missed Villiers on the wing, who was really good last season and got injured during the week. He would have started if he wasn't for injury. But I think if you look after that, I don't necessarily think there's big names jumping out to get into the team. So I'm not sure about where this French team is at right at the moment. There'll be a very, very difficult prospect in France in September, of course, very different. But I think coming to Dublin on the back of that performance, I think we'll pose more threats strategically and at the line and with decision making than Italy did. And I think we'll have them in trouble.
Okay. My lingering memory from Paris is the sheer size of France, their counter-rucking, issues in the scrum, any one-off runners on Ireland's part smashed. So that size hasn't changed. What about the fight up front here?
Well, for me, one of the biggest upsides to last season was the performance against France, that they played really well. And we never went away. They physically dominated us, and we stayed with them right to the death, and lost by 1 score. When they were going very, very well, and then to back that up. Sorry, just to I'll come back to that. But then backing that physical performance up against South Africa, I think there's huge confidence built in that physical game, and also I think we've moved on our movement from playing France, their success, and the way we played in New Zealand during the summer. And then, what we saw in the first half an hour, we're a much better team from a game plan point of view and understanding what we're trying to achieve. So I think the raw power will always have a nervousness, but it feels like we've answered some big questions in that regard against them last year and against South Africa, and that maybe we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves just yet, but we're we're better versed at dealing with that, and then the strategy of our attack game I think is better than France's at the moment. I really do. I think our shape is better and more manipulative.
Okay. No Furlong, it's been confirmed. No Gibson Park either. How did Murray do for you?
Yeah, really well, really well. It was good to see him back. High energy. Again, Conor Murray of old, running with the ball, attacking the line, taking the ball to space, runners off his shoulders. His service very good. Maybe you might argue, probably not on him, but one or two too many box kicks he could have really done with kicking the one before halftime out, waiting another few seconds or going to his 10 to kick it out. We almost were made pay with that late score, or would be score for Tipperick if the kick had been a bit more accurate. But I thought he was a very, very solid performer.
Okay.
And for a guy that was left out of the 23 with Munster during Europe in January and selected, it felt like it was a really important performance for him in the longer term. He's been Andy Farrell's guy for 5-6 years, with Ireland, with the Lions, with all those victories against South Africa. He's been, or against New Zealand. He's nearly been there for every one of them. And so there's lots of good muscle memory there. And for the confidence of the rest of the squad when he's in there, he does exude a confidence. But he did need that performance, I do think, just to reinforce that he's not done just yet.
Yes. So as a final thought on Dublin and the French coming, you sound, borderline bullish here that Ireland are going to win this game.
I do think we will win. I think we're very difficult to beat at home. I think we're different than the team 2 years ago that lost. And I think if France had brought a better performance than last week, it would soften my cough a little bit. But I just don't know where they're going to improve significantly against a better team than Ireland in a short space of time. It was a really under par performance for them with where the only real strength is they had to find a way to win, and they did. Yeah. And they didn't tighten up. They didn't revert back to type and stick it up their jumper and play physically. The Jalibert try was a really well manufactured try. 2 excellent offloads, Olivon, Tofanua, and then Jalibert to be there. I thought there was great bravery, and I think that's what you have with this new crop of French players. They do have an inner belief, even when they are off, to get it done. But I do think that Ireland in the Aviva, playing the way they are at the moment, will cause them huge problems.
Great. It's going to be such an amazing occasion. There you are. That was a snippet of Brian O'Driscoll on rugby this evening. The full 50-plus minute chat is waiting for you as ever on podcast, wherever you do get your podcast from.